It is showtime. Welcome back to another episode of Off Card Collectors. Today's episode is all about the Chicago Toy Show, April 2023. I probably forgot some part about being ironic and how we take everything out of packages. I don't know. We're just kind of winging it today. I'm, of course, James, and I'm here with my co-host, my main squeeze, Matty Westside.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Goat's good.
Oh, what's your goat's name?
Billy? Is that too on the nose?
It's a little on the nose.
Oh, we should name him something like to do with like the Cubs.
Billy? Billy the goat?
Like Chicago Cubs, right?
No,
that
yeah.
Billy Goat thing?
Billy goat.
This is Billy.
Okay.
He's a goat. Chicago Toy Show.
Chicago Toy Show.
Did you have a good time?
I'm still hungover, I think. It's been exactly a week. We waited 1 week since going, and now we're recording, and it was the busiest it's been, well, ever, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, it was packed.
Absolutely
There was a lot
packed.
of people there.
It was insane. I mean, we got there like a few minutes before 8, and there was already a line. There's probably, I bet you, damn near 100 people ahead of us.
Yeah.
At least waiting in the one
Dude,
line.
and we didn't show up any later than we normally did. And usually when we show up, we're 20th in line or whatever. But
The weirdest thing is I never realized that there was another entrance until this show, because I saw the line of people around the parking lot.
It was until this year. I don't know.
I don't know. There was and that line was even longer.
Yeah.
So
Could have always been, but I just thought it was the one we go through.
because we've never gone to the ones behind the stands or whatever. But
Yeah.
that was crazy. Did you have fun?
Of course, I think it, like, for me, it satisfied that itch. Like, we were talking, I think, in our pre-show, like how I'm just like it's our kickoff to, baseball's opening day, and we have the Chicago Toy Show that gets our season started, right? So I don't know, I was stoked to go, had a blast going, and it's definitely satisfied the itch that I had to go out and hunt some toys. So.
The hard thing is, we talked about on the pre-show about the Saturdays and being $50 to go early, and if it continues where it's as busy as it was, I may consider, I don't know, $100 between the two of us is a lot of money to spend towards that, but I almost would want to go early just to be able to get content. I couldn't imagine filming. I thought about it like 5 times to pull out and film. That was the whole idea. I think that's the whole idea of our channel, is we want to get to the point where we're actually providing film from the show, as opposed to just you guys looking at a hall and just 2 grown men talking about toys. But
hey, that's still cool.
It is still cool. But I mean, that's the whole plan, is to be able to get to that. And I think it was so busy, I don't even know. It would have been hard. I've been I don't know if you watch anyone else's YouTube channels or anything that anyone's posted about, their adventures, and
I saw a handful of people recording.
Yeah, sometimes you have audio issues. Yeah,
I didn't go and actually check.
Yeah, sometimes you end up with audio issues. You can't hear what's going on because there's so many other people around, and I don't know. It just seems like you end up creating like a ton of editing just because you got so much other stuff going on. But it's a great show.
Maybe that's just, we start small, right? Maybe we don't do a jam-packed show like that. We find like a smaller convention that we record and.
Oh yeah, I'm just but just
that would be cool down the line to have like some footage to show.
That's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. It's a great time. If you haven't had a chance to get out, you got to hit it up. There's 2 more events this year, July and October.
I think it's the 4th Sunday of the month.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th. I don't remember.
Yeah, but check it out. They got a website, chicagotoyshow.com, right? I think it's the name of the website, but Google it and it'll pop up.
Chicago Toy Show, you'll get it. A lot of people refer to it. You may hear of it as the Kane County Toy Show. That's a pretty common name too.
Yeah.
Takes place at the Kane County Fairgrounds in St. Charles, Illinois. But yeah, it's a great time.
Dude, I loved it. I love it every time I go. I know. So unsurprising. You want to get into the halls, or you want to?
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go to the halls? I mean,
was there anything? Did it for you? It met expectations, right? Like you.
Oh, absolutely. I far exceeded. We did our normal run. We did Pavilion A, and then the next set, and then we came back and did like Swine and Pig, or Swine. That's the same thing. Swine and Rabbit and whatever other the more outdoor buildings. We did those last. The darker ones, I don't know. Those are probably the ones where you find the best deals. But it's so hard to see everyone's
I know, we gotta
stuff.
bring a flashlight. It sounds silly, but like in those buildings because there's just a one LED that runs through the top of the roof and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it was sort of gloomy, so it's like the two windows that are in those buildings.
I feel so bad for those vendors out there, especially the ones that I think there's the one building that doesn't have the walls, the side walls. It's this chain link fence and just catching that cold and that wind all day long.
Probably fine in the July show.
Oh, sure, but yeah,
probably nice.
Yeah,
although the people inside of those pavilions, when they go outside at the end of the show, it's probably like this big blinding light.
And it snowed on Saturday too, so all the people that were setting up and doing trunk sales and stuff like that, like, just nothing but getting snowed on. So,
but that's the toy show for you, man. Like.
Well, that's the Midwest.
The bookends, right?
Yeah,
like
that's Midwest and Illinois for you.
Yeah, the spring and fall. It's like it's not a Chicago toy show if it's not bitter cold or raining.
You're gonna hit at least one of them's gonna be nasty weather, and usually it's always raining. And luckily we avoided the majority of the rain, so that wasn't bad at all. So that was pretty cool. So. The
only thing I'm thinking next year, and we'll have to have a conversation about it, but like if it is gonna be like you said this big, we were close on time. Like we were doing the up and down. One left side of the aisle, left side of the same aisle, coming back.
Yeah.
And we might need to just go up and down all together. I don't know.
Yeah, 8 to 3 is a tight window, especially when it's for one
but
day.
It might also be, we did have your buddy Tones with us for a little while, so now it's 3. There was 3 of us versus 2 of us. So.
True. But I can see that to some degree, but I don't, I mean, not that. I don't know. It's still a really big show. I mean, I know that there was a couple of people I was watching their shows, and they talked about getting there later, and they couldn't get through the entire show, and they missed a bunch of stuff, and there's obviously tons of regret about not getting there sooner. But the impact of the new amount of people that are going, and then just the overall size of the show. I mean, could you imagine if they opened up that other building that they do for like the flea market,
right?
And then you had that for the toy show as well, which maybe that comes down the line. I don't know, but
yeah,
you would have to make it either a 2-day event, like a true 2-day event, or extend your hours past 3:00.
Yeah,
it's such a big show. It's so great.
It was awesome. Check it out if you're able to. Check it out. It's
absolutely.
A good show.
So, yeah, I mean, we could jump right into the hall. I mean, we could just start talk about that, and if other things pop up during the time, we'll do that too. Cool.
Sweet.
What do we got here?
So, I think pre-show, I think I mentioned wrestlers is something I want to get into. Mm-hmm. And fun fact, I actually owned this toy at one point in my life. This is the Smash and Slam Sting. And it's hard to tell, but in that bottom corner, he's like beating up Hulk Hogan. Also had that figure. So, really cool to find this guy because he's cheap.
Okay.
On card's pretty decent. I mean, it's like got some creasing and stuff, but for the most part, like it's like the glue's not coming off.
You gonna keep him on card?
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
That's the age-old question.
I know.
And we bring it up almost every episode. I don't know. Yeah, I know me. I will. But I was just excited to get into wrestlers. I got the Hurricane who's behind me when we first started because I wanted to represent, all the things I was into in my life. And then I've just kind of re-found that love of wrestling. So adding kind of a new avenue, something else to look for, not just Power Rangers and Green Lantern, DC stuff. So it's just kind of nice to have another outlet. You know what that's like because you've kind of expanded over the years too.
Yes, I have. So I have a question for you. It's going to be tough to jog my memory on this one, but I'm going to try really hard. So I grew up WCW and WWF as well.
Yes.
Sting was my favorite from WCW.
Correct.
But this face paint, is this closer to like... Well, NWO was WWF.
NWO was WCW.
Oh, it was. So was this one... He was in NWO, right?
I believe he was like the only holdout. Like NWO got so big that they argue that it kind of destroyed the company.
Okay.
Like everybody was in it.
Oh, okay.
Then they started doing like factions within like the NWO, like black and white versus red and black or something like that.
Because this is not his original face paint. No, this drives me nuts.
He used to do more like Ultimate Warrior bright colors, and then he eventually phased. And I don't think it's because of NWO.
Okay.
I think he just phased into a darker version. They call it like the Crow Sting because it looks like the crow.
Yes, I can see that
from the movies. And if I'm misspeaking or James and I are misspeaking, and you are a bigger wrestling encyclopedia than we are, please let us know. But but this is Sting I remember. I don't remember Sting before this scheme.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Because this is the Sting that would be like the end of me.
Kind of on your way out of wrestling, right? Yeah.
So that's okay. That's
So it's just interesting how our few years apart.
Yeah,
so
because
we're not
this
that
I
far apart in
this
age,
I
but-
dislike, and this is what you know. So it's kind of interesting. But
Well, I had a conversation once with my brother and Sean. It was very interesting. Just three kind of distinct generations of wrestling fans and kind of seeing where they overlap and where they kind of one stopped and another began. But
that's a cool pickup though.
Thanks,
So this is besides the hurricane. This is your breaking the seal into the world.
This
of
is me
wrestling.
officially going like I'm truly collecting.
Okay.
That was purposely for my wall.
Okay.
This is me going like this is starting the WWE or not even WWE, just wrestling collection because there's some AEW guys that I would be interested in getting.
Yeah.
But this is I would call this like the breaking down the wall of like I'm gonna start. This is an avenue now that I'm going to explore.
Cool. So it's cool because this. Usually we're not so quick to like pull the trigger on purchases, and this was
Especially my
building
first
one
building.
first. Yeah, this was be like
The turn of the first row.
Yeah, we're talking like the sixth vendor.
Right. So we went in the building, went down the first row, and it was right. The turn down to the second row was.
Yeah, and he's
like
nothing about wrestling and
6 or
stuff like
7
that.
vendor.
So it's funny that you talk about that. Basically, deciding that you're going to start collecting wrestling because if I can get it to come off. Here we go. This is mine. So we have the Ultimate Warrior and we have Jake the Snake. These are who I grew up with. Not necessarily my favorite, although I love Jake the Snake. I am terrified of snakes. I don't do snakes. That's not my thing, but that's a cool figure. So Hasbro line is the line that I'm only interested in.
Which are this style of figures, right?
Which fits in with TMNT and all the other stuff that I collect.
Because it's
This
like
is
an 80s line.
Yeah, this is my
like
style.
that, yeah.
So I didn't find the Jake the Snake at the same booth that you found the Sting, but I did find the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know why I didn't even look at the back. I liked him because he was on card and he was cheap. I mean, he was. I think for the two things I bought at that booth, I ended up saving like $10 or $15. So I think I only paid like $20 for him on card, and he came in a case.
Right.
For me, stuff like this is going to become like, because he's a $20 figure, I could rip it, but I could also. My plan is because he's not the original, he's not the vintage.
Yeah, he's like the 20.
He's going to be sitting in the background of my shelf, and then I'm going to end up getting the Hasbro, the original from the 90s.
Still on the hunt for that one, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be how I do those.
I like that they're kind of doing these new retro lines.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're hard to like distinguish, especially like this was a newer line for you, so it's like you're not. Maybe there's a lot of big distinguishable features from card to card.
And this is still old because this is like 07. 07 or 09 or something. Was it? Oh, was it?
I'm pretty sure it's 16.
Oh, am I completely off on that?
About a decade.
I'm pretty sure it's 16. I thought it was older than that.
Because I looked when I took the picture. I'm pretty sure it's 16.
Okay, gotcha. I was way off. I shouldn't even try to start that
we're
one.
Good. We're good. But that's like that's a perfect example of like that's what toy collecting is. Like you learn lines as you go, and you learn appropriate pricing and appropriate this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So
It's just funny because I mean, like I grew up. I had a handful of the WWF, and it wasn't until I started looking at like a random dump in of seeing like because WCW did them as like the. I don't know if probably like LJN, like the ones that have no movement. So they were just like the molded, if they're like this and whatever,
they're
like
stuck like that.
Yeah, they're stuck in that motion. Those were the ones I remember because I remember like trying to grapple them and they grapple but not
you have to
really
like turn
because,
them completely upside down and then have them.
Yeah. So
had all those guys too.
That's kind of like my thought on that. But these are this is kind of me breaking that whole thing. Like I'm gonna get into some wrestling, but just Hasbro. So not a huge rabbit hole for me, but I'm super excited to add the Ultimate Warrior and Jake the Snake with us.
But I think it's still a big enough line that
I'm sure there's probably still close to 100 figures.
Right, that'll be a good time. So, I really like the Jake the Snake. The snake was like rubbery, right?
Yeah.
So like that's cool because usually it's just like this tough plastic that you have to try to.
This stiff looking snake.
Yeah. No, I think that the snake itself is really cool looking.
So I'm super excited.
I think there's
to
a
get
good
that.
find on both of them.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think we ended up packaging on the Jake the Snake with something else and saved a couple bucks too. So.
Yep. Which we'll talk about when we get to them. But yeah, I remember doing that.
Cool. So this is the same booth that we got the wrestlers from. This is actually the first thing I think I saw at this booth. Loyal subjects. So they're making their whole lines again. Some people complain about the quality. I still think that they are holding pretty well. I love the animated Beetlejuice series. I actually remember that I never saw the movie when I was a kid. Super young. But I remember like not on ABC but Fox watching because I think it started on ABC and then it moved to Fox. Watching Beetlejuice animated, I thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. But
I vaguely remember the animated series as well. I remember the movie kind of creeping me out a little bit growing up.
Yeah,
because it's kind of got.
And there's a whole Kenner line with that, and those I want to add too. I don't want to have like a crazy amount of like Beetlejuice stuff, but just from like the animated series, like that kind of set me back. So I think this trip was literally all about nostalgia to some level, and we got lots of stories about that sort of stuff. But in the past, it's been collecting the lines that we collect, and I think this trip's been more on the lines of nostalgia, which we'll definitely get into. So I don't have much to say on Beetlejuice. I think he's cool.
He's fun. I like these best actions or whatever they're called. They got a few different lines of them.
Yeah, he was an $8 or $10 pickup, nothing crazy, so he'll fit in nice. Oh, me up again. So talk about nostalgia. This was probably for me like the steal of the century, the find of the century. There was a vendor that had one big tote full of all the crash dummies. And the figs were all $10-15 a piece. The vehicles were 25 and up, and I was kind of piecing through, and I'm like, what do I want to get? And I don't know why I love the bundle. We just talked about bundling before, but I made the decision like, look, we're gonna see what we can do here. We're gonna see what can happen. So I brought the entire bin to the guy, and I said, what are you thinking? And he's like, oh, what do you? I said, would you take $100 for the entire box? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. I'm buying this. So I think there's...
So, if they're $10 to $15 just for the people...
Yeah, you're talking about $200 and some if you sold them all individually. So I definitely got a steal on that. So I didn't have any of these vehicles that are in this line. So I had the original car, which I have in box in my collection. Talk about nostalgia. So even being in this booth and thinking about this, like I had a couple of the original figures, the Daryl, the Spin, Bull maybe. And then I had a blue car. And I remember going to... my mom was dating this guy who had older kids. And they one was going off to college. And I remember going to the University of Iowa, hanging out in a dorm room, weirdest thing in the world, and crashing this, my blue car into the wall and the bedposts and whatever else multiple times and putting it back together and starting over. And so I think seeing this bin, it was something that I've collected some of the, I have a couple of the carded ones. I've got the car in box. I've got the plane in box. And seeing this loose and being able to make a deal, like that's going to fill up a shelf real quick, and definitely something that I've always wanted to do. So super excited for that.
When we were putting these together to take the picture, they were like, a little bit of a pain because every time I would do something, my hand would click and
push the
a leg would fall off, or like half a motorcycle would come apart or something. But it's like for the I was impressed with the like these toys are pretty clean and they're literally designed to be beat up to crap.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's supposed to be impact toys. You're supposed to throw them at your wall, watch them shatter, and pick all the pieces. So there's not like really high scuffing or anything, paint transfer, nothing like that. Like they're pretty clean figures.
And these are, you figure these figures are from early 90s. So like 92, 93, something like that. And so they've been sitting around for 30 years and they all work. Like I wasn't sure because I had, some of them were like apart, which just means someone walked up and hit the little bag and pushed the little button and all the, the head falls off and everything. I'm like, oh, I hope these all go back together. And I trusted that when he said they were complete and whatever, and we're putting them together. I'm like, yeah, these are good. These are good to go. So really excited about that.
A little jealous of this one. This one I think is a really fun lot.
And I don't collect a lot of Tycho stuff. This is one of like the few lines from Tycho that I think is super cool. And they remade it years ago. I think right around the time that there was a cartoon. I can't remember the year of the cartoon, but I know that they remade the line a little bit. Kind of goofier line, not as much interested as I was in the original line, but super excited about this. So
yeah, no, it's good find, good grab.
Thank you.
Good get.
What do we have?
This is actually the same vendor. So
yeah.
You and I were both looking at the booth a little bit differently, at different sections, and I didn't even know you were purchasing what you were purchasing until I was walking up to him to ask him for a bundle deal. But you guys already know that I have 2 of these figures, and I thought this was like all of them, 6 of them. That was the whole thing until I think my wife pointed out like the side on one of them is like number 7. So I have 6 figures, which means I have at least one more figure, if not more. So
7's odd, right? They don't say about 7.
Maybe. I don't know. I have to go and, search. But, like, the figures I do have are Rocky 2s, so you would think there's got to be a Rocky 1 figure at least out there. At least one Rocky figure. So you would think an Apollo and a Rocky, so maybe 2 more. I don't know. But either way, This guy had 6 to start last year. I bought one, and I went to another show, and I bought another one. And I was like, you know what? I can, like, so I brought the most money I've ever brought to this thing, but I think I've also spent the least amount that I've ever spent, ironically enough. But because this was about half my purchase, or half my money spent. They're all like $30 a piece figures, so I said, would you do 90 on them and just let me take all 4? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I thought that was fair, so that's what we did. So basically, I got a figure free by just taking them all off his hands.
Does he remember you from last year?
He said he vaguely did remember me.
Okay. I didn't know if it came up at all.
I think because I probably asked 25 or something for the previous one, so we had a smaller action. But he did mention, he's like, oh yeah, I think you bought the ones last time. I was like, yep, that was me. So, I think he did. Some of these vendors are actually starting to kind of recognize us. Some of the ones that we stop at pretty frequently, which is kind of cool. It feels like you're like a little, I don't want to say superstar, but you just feel like these are my people.
These are my people. I mean, you figure it's probably, the 8th show in 3-ish years or 9th, 7th show in 3 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's been booths that we've bought pretty consistently from. So
yeah, definitely. Anything else on this line?
No, I just think they're really cool. I gotta do the research. I'm curious what else, because there's a Clubber. I wonder if Thunderlips is maybe a character, that Hulk Hogan's character.
Been some great research before we started recording, I suppose. Yeah, That's all right. Staying package.
Yeah, for now, forever, probably. So hard.
What's this?
These are Power Rangers, specifically Black Rangers. So if you look at the new Power Ranger, he's the guy with the blue emblem on his chest off to the left, and the little guy, the Imaginext toy on the bottom, the short little guy. Bought them at the same booth. Cool thing about those is I was just thumbing through them. When we were in the big pavilion building, that hallway between them.
Yeah.
There was a guy that had a bunch of toys, and you were looking at something. I don't remember what it was. There was a bunch of wrestling figures and stuff. I think you were taking your time looking through, and some loose turtle stuff and whatnot. And
was that when we went into the break, when we first got into the second building?
Yeah, we're the
break. So the guy had the ring, and he had a ton of Hasbro WWF. So that makes sense.
Yeah, so you were looking through that. So then I was looking through other stuff, and I picked up both of these, and I was just looking at. And he's just like, I'll do $1 on them. Actually, now that I'm telling the story, that's a lie. It's a different booth. I bought the big bobblehead looking one at that booth.
Okay.
So, my bad. But anyways, the bobblehead guy I'd never seen before. I don't even know. I think that's a Burger King toy. I think that's what it said on the back of his head. The little imprinting. It said BK Toys or something. Okay. I could be wrong. Again, what's research?
So, yeah, wait, was this in the pavilion, or was this on the one right around the corner? Because I think I bought something from that same... Right, didn't we bundle on that one too?
I think so. Or the bobblehead guy?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Is he a Funko or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We didn't research. I don't know. So he was the one at the middle pavilion while you're looking through the wrestlers, and then I think you did find something that we bundled together.
Yeah.
Because we ended up owing me a couple bucks. So we're like, here, just bundle it together and pay as one. Which I don't know why we've never thought to bundle previously. Because you can usually get a couple bucks off if you bundle, right? You're like, oh, you're going to take a bunch from me? Yeah, I'll save you $5, $10, $20, whatever. We've never really thought to bundle.
And it's funny because majority of the time, if it's, we've talked about this, $5, $10, I'm not going to haggle over $5, $10. It's not, unless I know that it's half the price or whatever, if I think whatever. But I don't.
Or if it'll get you to an even number. Right?
Yeah.
You get a $5 toy and a $7 toy, you might offer 10 just to give them a $10 bill instead of $12.
Right. But then the only times I ever, we ever usually bundle is I'm usually looking for my own bundles, and then half the time we need to probably start bundling a little bit better. Maybe we get some better deals. I still think we get good deals,
but. Yeah, no, we do. Yeah. But it's probably not bad, especially when it's just one little item here for you. Why not throw it into my bundle and just see whatever kind of savings we can get? But the ones I was originally talking about, so the movie Power Ranger and the little Imaginext Power Ranger, that was actually a different booth within the largest pavilion section. And I picked them up just looking for, because they were Black Rangers and I thought they were cool. So guy comes up and goes, I'll do $1 a piece for him, $1 or so. Okay. And then I feel kind of guilty, but he counted back $19, and I was just like...
Oh, you gave him a 20?
Yeah, and I was just like, okay.
So you got him for $1 for both?
Yeah, 50 cents a piece. So maybe my karmic slate's gonna come back and haunt me. But
Stay away.
I'm a nice guy, so it's probably balancing it in my favor, right? I do a lot of good things, but
we'll just pretend you misunderstood and he said $1 for both.
Yeah. And then the guy in the middle there, that's the Dragon Shield Lightning Collection Black Ranger. He came in loose, didn't have the spare head or the spare hands, but as you know, my turmoil of wanting to open stuff and not open stuff, so like this satisfied the itch because then I can put them on my shelf and have them up there.
Absolutely.
So, that's why I bought them. And it was like 10. They were asking 15. I said, "You want to do 10?" He said, "Yeah." So a Lightning figure. This cost about $20 when it came out. I think this guy's up to $25 or $30 like in a box. So I figured $10 for mostly complete toy that I don't care if I don't have Zach's head.
Because you have them complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
so
right behind you. Yeah. So
to be able to throw a fig somewhere else on a shelf works out perfectly.
for $10, yeah, I thought it was a pretty good deal.
Cool.
What do we got next? Ghostbusters.
So, yeah, these are real Ghostbusters.
I had the mail carrier on the far right.
The mail carrier. So, do you know the mail carrier's name?
Bobby Hill.
It's okay. He does kind of look like... Well, you can't see his head.
I know,
but he
but
does.
if you Google him, he looks kind of like an older Bobby Hill.
He does look like Bobby from...
King of the Hill?
King of the Hill, yeah. That's awesome. So these are real Ghostbusters. His name is Mail Fraud Ghost.
Mail Fraud Ghost.
So yeah, there was a couple different lines. So they have the haunted line. So haunted humans, which 3 of those are. So you've got the terror trash ghost, and then you have air sickness, which is the pilot. I don't have his plane, but I have.
You don't have his plane yet.
Correct. I have an air sickness that actually works. I bought another one, and he doesn't want to sit on his own when you twist him. So that's the second guy in line. And then you've got one. I probably should have them in a different order, but then you have one from the monsters line. That's the zombie monster, and then the mail. What I call him, mail fraud ghost. And then
do you have other Ghostbusters, or is this you dipping your toe into the Ghostbusters line?
No. So I have the majority of the monsters now.
Oh, do you? Okay, I couldn't remember if this was
the only monster.
I knew this was something on your radar. I just didn't know if you had any yet.
Yeah, as far as the monsters line, which kind of is like a resemblance to the Universal monsters, so Drac and stuff like that. The only one that I don't have
is
Frankie.
Which prior to this show, we would see. I swear to goodness, every other booth. I feel like we would see it, but before you started looking for him actively, we would see him. I swear, every third booth somebody would have him.
I didn't see a single Frankie the entire show.
See a single one because I always look at him and go, he's cool, but he's just not like.
Which I'm shocked that Universal Monsters line for Ghostbusters wouldn't be something more up your alley, but
maybe now that I'm expanding more, I might consider it. I'll let you finish the collection, and I'll go back and get the leftovers.
There you go. So
what's up? What's with Casey Jones' legs? Are you not ready to get there yet?
We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
So yeah, the zombie came from we bundled.
Oh, I thought the zombie was cool too.
Yeah,
his legs and his arms go up.
Yes.
Volcano.
So the zombie came from a bundle that we did, and then coming across those Ghostbusters, I originally thought he had a fire. We were walking by his booth.
I think the zombie was bundled with my bobblehead Black Ranger.
That makes sense because it was on that outside booth. Yeah. So originally walk up to this booth. I think this guy was just selling his childhood because I think everything he had there was that we talked about. It was something he's like, oh yeah, this was mine as a kid. This was mine as a kid. So I originally saw the firehouse, and I've been looking for a complete Ghostbusters firehouse, and his was in amazing condition. It was missing like one railing in the entire thing. I couldn't pull the trigger. I mean, everyone's asking the same price for it. It's not like he was outlandishly priced or anything like that. It just wasn't something I felt I could.
It's a lot of money to throw down on one piece.
I said there was only 2 or 3 bigs I wanted to go after, and then when I had the chance, I'm just like, oh, okay.
But maybe that's something that you do at like a toy store, where it's not like you're bringing X amount of money to spend, and versus you're going to a toy store. It's like you're gonna see what you get and get what you want. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things I don't pull the trigger on just because I'm like, I only brought X amount of dollars and I don't want to spend all of it. Sure. Like, that's almost why I'm surprised I even pulled the trigger on those Rockies, because that was like a good chunk of the budget.
But I didn't want to carry it either. It got to the point where I was just
that too, because then you almost feel like you have to immediately either rush through the rest of that area and then go straight to the car.
So I saw the firehouse, started looking at stuff, going through his bins, and then that's when I came across the real Ghostbusters. I have an air sickness, but he's a better air sickness, so he'll swap out the other one. But yeah, you asked about Casey Jones's legs there. Going through, he had a little Ghostbusters collection there, and I am missing 2 of the 4 accessories for Casey Jones. I was missing like the golf club and one of the bats. Mm-hmm. So for $5, how can you not pick up
like
2 accessories?
Bag of just different accessories labeled, just sorted.
Yeah, and for
like $5 or $10, they were pretty.
The funny thing is, he was apologetic, and I'm really I couldn't find the rest of the figure. I don't care about Casey Jones' legs. Like, they're just probably gonna get pitched, or they're kind of funny. I mean, sitting in this picture right now,
depending on what you do with your Ghostbusters, you can use them as like some sort of zombie lady looking.
So the funny thing is,
I might steal them from you and set them up with for some monster stuff.
The joint, if you look at that in the picture, the joints of his legs looks like bone sticking out of his.
It's really
kind of. It's morbid.
You could reuse it in some fashion if
it's
you
still
with the right
cool.
like display setup. You could reuse it.
So throw something in the comments. What should we do with Casey Jones' legs there? So I just needed the 2 accessories for $5. It was a no-brainer. So I got that as well. But super cool guy. I think it was his first time selling there. But he talked about his brothers destroying all his toys, and you probably had similar experiences too, or maybe you were that brother.
I play with my toys. Sure, I destroyed them, but I destroyed them because I played with them. Yeah, like they're gonna get. I remember one of the reasons why I wanted to go back and get a Black Ranger in space, because I had this, this little kid reclining chairs. It's a recliner, but it's made for kids. I got one of those when I had my surgery. My auntie bought it for me, and so I would like open the recliner and tuck him in there, and it was like space jail or something. And I remember like he got caught in like the metal bracketing, and I broke his leg, and I was no! So that's why like. I'll find that toy eventually, like that actual type, but somewhere down the line I'll get it.
That's cool.
But yeah, I played hard with my toys for sure.
Yeah, no, so this almost completes the haunted humans line, and then gets me almost complete on the monsters line. Yeah.
So Frankie, you said just left for the monsters, right?
I'll have to go back through and verify. I'm pretty sure Frankie is all I have left. Yeah. So he's out there. We'll find a good one.
You're getting him this year, I'm sure.
I have no doubt. We have plenty of shows coming up, so we'll find something. So, all right, let's see what we got next. All right, so right into more TMNT. So this was later in the day. I actually saw the Krang first. So this is Krang's android body, the 5-inch, incomplete, but he has crystal clear glass and his antenna's intact. And those are usually the 2 things that are either damaged or missing or whatever. And so that's my first road ready. That's road ready Leo, so he's a fire truck.
Is it like a transformer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's pretty cool. They're bulky. They're weird. They don't display the greatest. I think I'd probably try and find one of each, or I'm sorry, 2 of each of the line, because they made a Shredder, Leo, Don, and Splinter. Just so I can have like one in their human form, or not human form, but they're
transformed and not transformed.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thought process on that. But that was complete. And I'm getting the 2 of them for less than almost the price of Krang's android body by himself. Yeah. So they were super cheap. So we'll come across a Krang one of these days. If you got a little Krang laying around, we tried. We were at your mom's house yesterday, and I looked for I found I found your the Krang you got, the 5-inch you guys had. Mm-hmm. Beat the snot, to be expected, right? I mean, he's a little rough.
I went through 4 boys,
but his antenna was still intact, which is crazy. I couldn't believe this. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, he has glass and his antenna's intact. Okay.
Ours still has glass?
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, no Krang, though. But it is a little other blue accessories, but we'll find them. I'm not worried about that. So, that's a super... I think by himself, he displays really well, and as I come across pieces for him, so be it. So, super excited. That was like... I didn't have very much TMNT, which is cool. We talked about the nostalgia, and TMNT was a huge part. I didn't have either of these growing up. I think let's see, Krang probably was like 93-ish. It was later. I think it was later in the line. Maybe not. No, not 93. But I only had like 88 to 90 growing up, so I can't remember what year Krang's android body, but it was a little bit later.
Drop it in the comments.
Early 90s, but a few years into the line, and I wouldn't have had it. I grew out of that at that point. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we had a little bit of everything just because my brother born in the 80s, and then me in the early 90s, so we got kind of everything. Yeah. So on the screen now is Captain Planet, and then the 2 pieces on the side of him are actually 1 piece. So it's a Ronald McDonald toy from 95, I think. So you open up the shell of Frankenstein, put him on Ronald McDonald. I think he's also on... you can't see him. Doesn't matter. But he's on my shelf. So that's really cool. Like James and I were talking about wanting to get into certain McDonald's toy lines. We both actually are gonna start having some crossfire for the McNugget Halloween figures, and then I know there's gonna be some crossfire with Wolfman, but that's a conversation for another episode. But pick those up because I'm a sucker for Universal Monsters, and there's a lot of nostalgia for me with McDonald's toys because we were kids when McDonald's toys were like dope.
Yep.
Like really cool.
Yep.
So, and then Captain Planet, he was a TV show, a character, Captain Planet and the Planeteers. There was 5 kids that all had rings that went and saved the planet, like recycle and all that good stuff. So, Captain Planet, I think it was 1990 was when it first aired, but I would rent this all the time at my local, like what would be a Blockbuster, but it was a local one.
Did you have family video or family video?
No, it was just a locally mom and pop one.
Oh, gotcha,
so,
gotcha.
But yeah, this one and that like a VHS. You kids out there, if you don't know what that is, Google it. But a VHS.
They're coming back.
Yeah,
they'll know there. It's a big black box.
A VHS of that and like some Power Rangers that I would always like in hindsight, my mom should have just bought them and saved $100, over the years. But so that's my first Captain Planet.
Cool.
And I want to look into that line more. Eventually, get all the Planeteers.
Villains.
Let's do the Planeteers first. I'm a good guy. Let me look down the line. But yeah, I'm starting to get out of my shell and kind of spread out. Plant some roots in other toy lines.
I like it.
We're getting there.
Cool.
What we got next, my man? Police Academy. Just kidding. This one's yours.
Do you want to talk about Police Academy? Do you know anything about Police Academy?
Yeah, you go there to be a policeman.
Yeah. Mr. Sleaze. This is actually one of the few that I have left in the line to complete. There's 1 or 2 mail-aways that are a little bit harder to come by that I may or may not ever have them. But got a really good deal on this one at a booth because I bundled and maybe made some poor decisions in my life, but that's okay.
For what it's worth, this guy's booth has some really cool stuff.
Yeah, so we see this, this is it's not an uncommon piece. It's just generally it's an overpriced piece in my eyes. So I just always would rather get other things. But no, I got a really good deal on this one. So I think I have the majority of the line carded. I don't have him loose, but he'll display really nice carded. And then if I get to him, we'll get to him. But Kenner made some killer toys back in the 90s, and this
just
doesn't.
A lot of toy companies did. Like putting together, setting up, because I was taking pictures while James was setting some other things up, and just like holding those Ghostbuster toys. Those are solid plastic. The reason they still aren't broken is because they're solid plastic.
Yep.
Like, I mean, sure, the little stuff, but like the antenna. The reason some antennas don't get broken on Krang is because they made them pretty solid. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you see that, James, but the original price was $6.99. Then it was reduced down to $1.99.
So, and that's
I
wish
toys were still in that price range.
I know, and that's KB Toys, right? The crazy thing is that's really popular. You see that amongst the TMNT community, especially with the later lines and stuff in the later mid to late 90s, where KB Toys, when they still existed, you'd see the things that are the grails nowadays that were like in the 3 for $9 bin and $1.99 a piece, and makes me sad. I love the era that I grew up, but I feel like if I was just a few years in one of the directions or the other, I would have been more inclined. But also, I was thinking about this the other day. We're gonna segue really quick and then we'll come back. I was trying to figure out like why I don't remember a lot of this growing up, and I remember some of the commercials, but I don't remember like why I didn't collect a lot of this stuff. And then I realized that those prime years in the 90s, I spent growing up in rural Illinois. So like I lived in the country. I didn't have a mall nearby. Target was 45 minutes away.
And
like
Walmarts weren't super Walmarts. It was Walmart the retailer, and it was your local grocery store. It wasn't Walmart didn't have.
KB Toys was in the mall, and it was only if I visited my dad, and we didn't go to the mall very often. Usually, if we went to the mall, it was for clothes. I never got to go to the mall to buy toys. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking I remember KB Toys, and I remember going in there, but it was never with my family. So it was always with other people, and I generally didn't have money with me. So, you know what I mean? So I'd go in KB Toys, but I didn't have cash. I'd have to rely on a parent, and I didn't have a parent with me when I went to those things. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, how did I miss all this cool stuff? And it's got to be because
I'm sure there's a big correlation there.
we're making up for it.
Absolutely. That's what this whole off card's about, man.
All right. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So we've got the Wild Stallions Jam Session and we've got the Phone Booth. Both of which are, rarer pieces. Both in box, both sealed. Great pickups. If I decide that was the line I'm going to go down. I think these are going to be flippers for me. I was excited about finding Bill and Ted. I was going to jump on it. I actually found the same booth. I found the Mr. Sleaze from Police Academy. The plan was to do that, and then after I bought it, instant buyer's remorse. I won't have any issue getting my money back and hopefully making a little bit on it, but I bought them and I'm like, there was other things that I wanted instead, and so I spent more than I probably should have at that booth. But
that's kind of the issue with him. Like I said, he had a really cool booth, so he had a lot of cool stuff, especially up your alley, like TMNT and stuff, and Police Academy. So it's got maybe a little roped into making a deal that you would otherwise wouldn't. It would have been fine if it was the last deal of the day, but on the way out. But
yeah,
I think you just probably spent your money too early, and you're like, oh, should have waited around a little longer.
Well, this was late in the day.
I know, but we still had a couple hours left. This was still before we went out to the outside bit.
True, that's true. But I honestly, I guess in my brain now I'm looking at it as I was able to get the Police Academy one for like basically $20, which is hard to find them carded for that price. I'll either trade or flip or sell these and get my money back, and I'll be able. The entire amount that I spent for the 3 pieces, I'll be able to get it all back on just these 2.
I was really surprised to see you have some signs of buyer's remorse. Yeah. You've never really had that, but
buyer's remorse.
Yeah, it's out there, man. It happens.
And don't get me wrong; they're amazing figures. Yeah. It's just I just don't think that I'm ready, and I don't think I want to store it away.
That's how I felt about those Beetleborg Universal Monsters. Every time I look at them, they grow back. They grow on me because like the money spent that's there. But it was like one of our first shows, and you can look back in an old episode. I think it's in an old episode, but I was just kind of like I wasn't budgeting bringing as much money back then, so I was just like that's a big chunk of something that I didn't have the anticipation of buying it all.
Yeah.
So I understand it.
So if anyone's interested in some Kenner Bill and Ted, hit me up. Otherwise, probably going to be trade bait in the future. So we'll see what we can come with. All right. What do we got here?
All right. Back to me. Power Ring is on the left. So those of you that aren't familiar, this is like these are DC Multiverses. This is Todd McFarlane line. Power Ring is an alternate world Green Lantern essentially, but he's the evil version. So there's a cool movie, I forget the name of it now, Crisis on Two Earths on HBO Max if you want to check it out, that has these characters because there's Power Man and Ultra Woman and all the Owl Man and all the Justice League inverses basically.
Okay.
So it's a part of a Build-A-Figure, which is pretty cool. Not that I'm interested necessarily in the Build-A-Figure. I might consider getting the rest of the alternate characters here, like I said, Owlman and all them, because they are pretty cool. I found that DC Universe Crisis Guy Gardner somewhere for like $3 or $5, something super cheap. It's one of those outside booths at the end of the day, and I found them. I'm like, okay, I got a bunch of these kind of guys, the little ones. So that was an easy get.
I love pickups like that. Like we always talk about that. The sub 5 that can fill a shelf is like the best pickup in the world.
And then that one, I think all my other ones are open. So I'll probably open him. And again, that one I don't have issues with because it is so cheap.
Yeah.
If I open it and I immediately regret it, I'll just probably buy another one for $5 next show, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bummed. I was looking for Parallax. He's a gold edition. I don't really know what's truly meant by gold edition for these McFarlane lines. And I saw him early on, and we went back. We tried to find it, and it must have gotten sold. But I could not find it. It'll be there at the next show. I'm not worried. I'm just hoping by the next show it's not, $10 or $15 more than it is now. But I do want to go back and get that Parallax one, so I'll find him. It's not the end of the world, but either way, I'm still happy with both of these.
Yeah, I think we spent the last half hour before we left just combing and trying to figure out where you saw that Parallax and.
Yeah. Well, then
someone must have bought it.
And there was a Muppet, which we'll talk about, but.
What? There's a Muppet. A Muppet.
So I was vigorously trying to find my Parallax while you were debating on whether or not you want this.
Oh, it wasn't even a debate.
That's right, you made an offer, and the guy's like, come back later.
Yeah.
And we're like,
yeah,
well, we are leaving though.
yeah. So this was the turn on the first building we were in. So this was the end before you got into the next section of that building. He had a ton of Muppets. Palisades Muppets are, they make a Diamond Select line, and then they have the Palisades line. I prefer the Palisades, a little bit bigger scale. He had a bunch of them. He actually had he had both of the Statler and Waldorf. I probably should have pulled the trigger on that because when I went back, he had already sold it, and he had one of the other. I think he had Statler, and he's like, oh, I'll give you the same deal I gave the other guy, $60 for I think it was Statler. I'm like, but what about Waldorf? I said, it's so hard, and I quickly went on eBay, and everyone's selling them as a pair. So
yeah, there's certain figures out there that because they're so notorious as a twin pair or a pack,
I did that years ago. So
it's hard to
back to the Bill and Ted thing. I bought Bill, as a Funko Pop 5 years ago or whatever it was, and he's like, oh, I had Ted, but somebody bought Ted, and now it's like you're trying to find Ted. Everyone wants to bundle them together, or Ted's super expensive. It's easier to get a better price when you buy them both. So, one of those things like
I know that
Statler comes with Waldorf, and
Well, I know the grief with Power Rangers, right? Because I almost exclusively get Black Ranger or Green Ranger, depending on the series.
Yeah.
And if I see something with all the Rangers, I know they're not going to split it up. So it's just like, I guess I'll pass on that until next time.
So yeah. So going through his Palisades that he probably had like 9 or 10 different figures. Dr. Phil Van Neuter. He's the villainous neurosurgeon from Muppets in Space. So he's a no-brainer. He's awesome. He's a scientist. He's a neurosurgeon, but he's got all his flasks and everything. That's totally right up my alley. So he was a definitely quick ad. So he had one. I don't remember what he offered. I offered him $10 less or whatever it was, and figuring to end a show. And he said, "Oh no!" And then I kind of was still looking around. I put him back. Still looking around, and he's like, come to me, when you're getting ready to leave, we'll talk again. And so we
spent another 10 or 20 minutes looking for my Parallax.
Yeah, so it worked out because we spent time looking for Parallax, hunting around, and we went back to his booth. I think we went back to his booth, and he wasn't there, and I'm like, I don't think that was the guy.
Oh, that was another thing. So then we looked into another lab looking for Parallax.
Circling around again and trying to figure it out, and then came back, and he was actually, the funny thing is, when we walked up, he was talking to his partner or whatever about our interaction, and I'm like, I think he's talking about me, but I left it alone.
It wasn't anything bad.
It wasn't anything bad, but I'm just gonna let him finish talking, and then when he turned around, I was like, 30 on.
We were just talking about that.
Van Neuter, I think is what it was, and he's like, I was just talking about you. So it worked out really well, and I was able to add that. So that was actually my last purchase for the day. So that was pretty cool. So I love Palisades. They're a little bit pricier, but he's gonna get opened. They're all gonna get opened. I love them too much.
Yeah.
All right, what we got? Oh, this is me again. I don't know what the last photo is then. That's a mystery photo. So this is.
That's all of them.
Oh, it is the last photo. I'm stupid. I don't know how this thing works. So this was not a toy show find, but as we mentioned earlier, Bobby at Tones Toys. Yeah, check him out on Instagram.
Not short for Tony.
No, Tones is not short for Tony. So Bobby at Tones Toys. He's on Whatnot. He's on Instagram. Super cool guy. Lives in our relatively close to us. So I know him from some Simpsons groups, and he's a friend. So he hung out with us for a few hours.
Hooked you up with their stuff, so he's got 2 perfectly working thumbs.
Yeah. So this was part of the stuff that he had for me. So NES, Simpsons, complete in box. So it's got everything.
Is that the one that Chris got? The one time he went to a toy show with us?
No, because he only bought Sega games.
Okay, but is that the game though?
Correct.
Okay.
And I probably have like 3 copies of this game because it's most common for NES. I probably have like 3 copies because I keep getting them as gifts from people. But now I actually have one complete in box, and I'm excited about that. So, and then he threw in that Snaggletooth from Star Wars. That's vintage Kenner. So, that's actually the first vintage Kenner Star Wars I have. Because I tried to find a Rancor, I tried to find a Boba, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on any of them. But he hooked me up with that Snaggletooth for free, so that was pretty cool. And then the other stuff that I got from him was the just some Simpsons playsets that I didn't have, but I didn't throw those on screen because we don't need to talk about those. Sure. Those are bigs that came to the car later. But I thought the complete in box
was worthy of. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
All about the Space Mutants.
Thanks, Tones.
Yeah. So we can go back to that one. So that's our haul. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's it. It was a lot of stuff. It was a good. Like I said, there's something, I don't know what it was this year. There was something that I just was like, I was so itching to go, and I'm just glad we went. Like we got to go, worked out. We got this is probably one of my favorite individual Chicago Toy Show visits personally.
I agree, and I don't know. I mean, it was busy, so it made it hard. But I don't know if it was because we had a different game plan, or if it was because it's been 6 months since we really got to go to an actual toy show. I don't know what was different.
I think that part of it was we got the channel up on its feet. Mm-hmm. We did a pre-show, we did all the things to get us really excited for it. We got to hang out with your buddy for a little bit. The 50th year, like all these special things that I think just for whatever reason intrinsically made it like super awesome for us. Yeah. So I loved it.
It was a great time. I'm looking forward. Hopefully we get to go to July. It's the same weekend as San Diego Comic-Con again, which I think we talked about for last time, but I'm excited for that again.
It's closer than San Diego, so
and we'll fill in with some random toy shows and toy store events over the next couple months, and we'll figure it out from there. Sure. So I was recently on our YouTube, and I saw that we were up to 38 subscribers. So thank you for everyone that subscribed. Listen, you got to start somewhere, and we are absolutely ecstatic about it and super thankful for all of you that are hitting that subscribe button and helping us out. So thank you. Definitely check out our Instagram too. I'll let you do our closing because I don't want to take that away from you, but we've been working hard to get that Instagram up and rolling too. So thank you for everything you guys do for us. So anything you want to throw out there before we get into closing?
No. Thanks, guys. We appreciate all the comments, the likes, support, shares.
It's huge. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. So this was a fun event, and we look forward to bringing you more content here really quick.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Instagram is off and running, so check that out. Off Card Collectors on Instagram. TikTok right now is still out of commission, but if you want to go bookmark it by following it for when it is up and running, that'd be great. And of course, our YouTube channel, Off Card Collector. So you should be able to just type in @Off Card Collectors in the search bar and find us. Click subscribe, like, share, whatever. Thank you guys so much.
That TikTok is going to be full of outtakes. We have so many outtakes. It's going to be amazing. Thank you again, guys, and we'll see you real soon.
See ya.